Launchpads. Launchpads have provided a great amount of support to various projects in the crypto space for a long time. Some of today's most successful crypto projects launched through launchpads, and many of today's failing crypto projects also launched through launchpads. My opinion is that launchpads can be an amazing growth opportunity for a crypto project. And as a growth hacker and someone who runs a growth consultancy company in this industry, it's our job to identify whether a launchpad is going to be positive or negative for a project. And therefore, I wanted to create this video to give you a bit of an insight into what we're considering when giving advice to a project on whether they should go with a certain launchpad or not, whether it's a good fit for them, whether it can do more damage to them than good things for the project. So that's what we're going to dive into. Quick introduction, I'm Jacob Block. I'm a crypto growth hacker. I run Magnet, which is a best-in-class crypto growth consultancy company. We've hacked growth for dozens of projects, combined market caps over $1 billion. We're part of the Forbes Business Council, and I wrote a best-selling book on crypto growth. So now you know that I can maybe provide a little bit of value on this subject. Let's get into it. So the first part of the video is, what are the benefits of a launchpad? Obvious one, help you raise money. And as a project, you're going to need money to build what you're building, fund your team, market your project, and build sustainable growth funnel in your business. So fundraising, obviously a very important point. The second point is community building. You're tapping into audiences that are pre-built, that are looking for the next project to come to market, and you can nurture your initial community from a launchpad by doing this. So that to me is always the most attractive thing. And you can get money from everywhere. I like the launchpad style because you're not giving a huge amount of supply to just one individual insider. You're giving it to plenty of different community members, which is a very good thing for the chart, the tokenomics, and the longevity of the token. But like I said, the second thing is getting access to that audience. The launchpad is providing that to you. So it's a way that you can organically stimulate growth and community building, and at the same time receive investment and real ownership in your project. So for those reasons alone, I love launchpads. Now let's try and get into the points that you need to consider when choosing the right launchpad for you, because there are dozens of launchpads now. There are launchpads across all different chains, and there has to be these considerations because the upside of being on a launchpad, the reasons I mentioned, are great, but don't let that blind you into just going with any launchpad. Consider these reasons first. The first point is professional fundraising setup. The thing that you do not want to do is commit to a launchpad that doesn't have pull. You could put so much time into organizing a community sale on a launchpad for you to launch and get no buying pressure. And this isn't a good sign for anyone looking to come into your community. So you need to make sure that they have a track history, that they are successful at raising funds for projects, and that they're willing to work with you to make sure that your project is a success. And that leads to my second point. You want to ideally work with a launchpad that is very selective, because if they're selective, they might only be launching 1, 2, 3 projects a month through their launchpad, which is going to bring all the liquidity from their user base into those projects. And therefore, you have a higher chance of being able to hit your fundraising goals because the liquidity is being centralized around projects like yours, rather than just launching on a launchpad that has hundreds of projects launching through it, because you're not going to get that pull and bite from the community. You're not going to get the level of investment that you could if you went for a selective launchpad that is centralizing that liquidity on top projects. The second point is fair token distribution. So many launchpads might build their names through having a product and solution that enables their community members to buy into projects and get out and make returns. And if that is the case, that is not the launchpad for you. You want to work with a launchpad that is famous for having people that buy into projects, to believe in these projects and hold the tokens. And therefore, they're not bothered if the tokenomics are vested over a longer period of time, because they're interested in backing projects they really believe in. They're not interested in quick get in, get out projects and schemes. Launchpads are going to try and push you to have certain tokenomics sometimes that fit what they think is going to attract their community, but you need to make sure that you do what is right for you so that you can build a sustainable token. There is 0 point in raising $1 million on a launchpad with extremely favorable terms for the community members on the launchpad to buy in, only for them to just dump as soon as a token launches, leaving you with a dreadful looking chart that's going to be incredibly hard for you to go and nurture from that moment onwards. So essentially, don't set yourself up for future failure by choosing the wrong launchpad. The next point is the credibility of the launchpad. Is this a launchpad that has a good rep? There are many launchpads that do not have a good rep. They are looked at in a certain way by the industry, and this probably isn't the sort of launchpad that you want to associate your project with. You want to be able to go out to your community and say, look, we're working with this launchpad. It's a top tier 1 launchpad. It's worked with the likes of X, Y, and Z, because that's going to bring your brand a lot of credibility. On the other hand, if you work with a launchpad that does the opposite to that, you're going to bring your business a bad rap, essentially, by working with an uncredible launchpad. The next one, and this is a non-negotiable and something that the majority of top launchpads will have sorted already, but security. You need to make sure that it's secure and that no one buying into your project is at risk. Otherwise, they're going to look at you having chose that launchpad, which put them at risk. Unfortunate thing that happens to them. So that's something that you need to consider. The next point is KYC and regulatory compliance. If you're working with a bit of a sketchy launchpad that do not take these things seriously, then this might come and bite you in the arse at a later date. So you need to make sure that you're working with a launchpad that follows regulation in the countries that you're operating in, to make sure that you don't have any unfortunate things happen to your project at a later date because of the launchpad that you used. The next thing is cross-chain compatibility. Of course, you want to work with a launchpad that has as much access to the market as possible, because often when you're launching on a launchpad, you might already have a community that want to participate in that launch as well. And if that is the case, then you might have users in your community that are operating on multiple different chains, and you want to provide them with a layer of access to your community cell. And if your launchpad is, say, on a very specific layer 1 chain that no one really participates in often, there's going to be a lot of bridging and new wallet creation, so on, and friction is going to be created, which is going to prevent your community cell from having the maximum amount of participants. And the final point I want to mention here is support. Launchpads should be able to support you. They should be able to advise you on, they've been involved in many projects through launchpads, and if they've made a success of these, they can provide you with invaluable advice on how to do this properly and how to continue building your project post the launchpad stage. You also want to have marketing support from them as well, of course. You want them to be really blasting your project out to their audiences. There's no point just listing it on a platform and never talking about it. So marketing support, advisory support, super, super important points when looking for a launchpad. So they're all the points. There are a few more to mention, but I think that's probably enough for you to consider in this video when you're looking and analyzing different launchpads. At Magnet, we do work with a few different launchpads. So if you're interested in getting an intro, because that's the other part of the game, you might find the perfect launchpad, but how do you actually convince the launchpad to work with you, especially if they're a bespoke company? One of the ways is to have a warm introduction into a launchpad. And for that, you need to know the right people. And projects we work with at Magnet, we can make that level of connection into top tier launchpads for them. So what I'm going to do on this video, I'm going to drop a link in the description, and it's going to be a link that's going to show you the top growth hacks of 2025. So you're going to get loads of value from that for your project anyway. But then there's also a book a call, free growth strategy call link on that PDF as well, which you can go and book a call in, talk to our team, let us know what you're building, and we can see whether we can help you and make any introductions to our ecosystem partners and collaborators. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful, and appreciate you watching the video. If you are building a project in crypto, then make sure to subscribe to my channel, because that is what I talk about. That's the area of this industry I don't think is spoken about online enough. And that's what I'm focused on. Hopefully, I'll see you on the next video.